Hey everyone, welcome to one of entry levels event. Today we're going to be talking to Elizabeth about her career in product design and how she landed a new job and some tips and advice for you. Before we get started and I introduce Elizabeth, just a brief background on entry level. Entry level is a learning platform where we help you learn and get experiences so you can get hired. Our courses are designed for you to actually practice what you learn and build a portfolio through the programs. And these are on the right, you can see some of the programs that entry level offers. There's UX design, digital marketing, product management, and plenty more in venture capital analyst, financial analyst, etc.
Mhm.
As we get started, I would love to know where everyone's joining us from. So if everyone could just type in the chat which city, country they're joining us from, just to see where everyone's from. Cool. We have someone from Hong Kong, Bangladesh, South Africa. I'm joining in from Kenya, so Colombia.
Nice.
A lot of people from Nigeria, and Elizabeth is joining us from Germany. And cool. So we have people from a lot of people from Nigeria and a lot of people. I mean, people from all over the world as well. All right. So keep popping that in, and I'll keep on going ahead. So who am I? I am the learning designer at entry level, where I work with the instructors to create courses that you guys see on the platform.
Mhm.
And today our agenda is to chat with Elizabeth. It's a brief, casual conversation where we hear about her experiences. You are also everyone who's attending is also. You should ask questions, put it in the chat, or raise your hand so I can unmute you. A bit more about that is that don't spam the chat. Keep the chat light. Talk. Write your insights and learning that you get from the answers, but do not spam the chat. And if you can, turn on your video so we can see you. It's we have 50 people here, and I think a few more will join throughout the meeting. We usually have about 80, so it would be nice to see people who are attending while we're all chatting. And if you have a question, again, raise your hand. Awesome. So let's get started. Introducing our guest for today, Elizabeth, who is a product designer at Zalando. She's been working in the design space for 8 years. And now, instead of introducing her, I'm going to invite you, Elizabeth, to join us. And my first question to you is, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
So yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad that so many people have joined. So with that being said, my name is Elizabeth Orayo. I'm born and raised in Kenya. I started my career when I joined Kenya Poly, which is now the Technical University of Kenya, in 2012 for my diploma, finished diploma. After that, I got an internship. After internship, I went back to school to do my bachelor's degrees in the same university, which is Technical University of Kenya. But as I was doing my bachelor degrees, I was also still working. So I got a job with the Seed magazine, who they're the same people who gave me an internship. So also worked with them. After some time, I left and went to economic industries. Then after that, I went back to Consolata Media Center. So I worked with them for like almost 2 years as a senior. Then I became a head of graphic design, but they were just designing posters, business cards, just a normal graphic designer, and also designing the website and also the magazine every month. Then after that, of course, as I said, I was studying and also working. So when I finished studying my bachelor's degree, I graduated, of course, in 2017. I started looking for jobs that are offering UI UX because I had this industry is moving and it's growing fast. And at the Consolata Media Center, I'm just a graphic designer. So what will I do with this degree that has given me this platform to learn more about interactive media, because I specialize in interactive media. So I started looking for roles and companies that were hiring. And by that time, this thing was new, UI UX was new. So By that time, Cooperative Bank was hiring and Safaricom. So lucky enough, we were very few in the market, not like today. There's so many UI UX designers and so many product designers. By then, we were so few. So getting these few people was not easy. So, but then again, it was easy for us because now we were few. But now spotting them was not easy if you're not on LinkedIn. So I was approached by a recruiter on LinkedIn telling me to interview for the Cooperative Bank of Kenya. They were looking for a UI UX designer. And also for Safaricom, I just applied online. I saw the advert and applied online. Luckily, I was called for an interview. I didn't perform well in Safaricom. But then again, that week I had the two interviews, Safaricom and Cooperative Bank. So I didn't pass Safaricom. They gave me a regret. But then again, I went for Cooperative Bank interview and I did the interview and I was given an offer. So now what I can say is my UI UX design, I've been in that industry for 4 years because that is when I now ventured in deep dive in UI UX design other than graphic design. So as a UI UX designer, I have 4 years of experience. So after that, of course, my journey started evolving because we were learning, but then everything was new, even Scrum Masters. We hadn't heard of Scrum Masters. They were known as product managers. But then now we had Scrum Masters, we had the agile way of working. So all these terminologies were new. So everyone was learning in the job. So we learned so many things in terms of designing the omni-channel of the bank. And after that, so I was like, what is next for my career? So then I started looking for other opportunities because I was hungry for better opportunities. So then again, I started looking for other opportunities and then Zalando came in. So I think I'll answer that as we go, but that has been my journey, simple. Yeah.
Awesome. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing in detail how your career evolved and how you ended up in design. I think my second question would be to clear the confusion before we start. Like I think some people get confused between product design and UX design, and then also are they the same? And then the difference between UX and UI design, especially people who are like early on learning about like the jobs in the design space. So if you could clarify the differences between them, that would be amazing.
So a UI design is user interface, designing the user interface of an application, be it website or mobile. That's just the interface, how it looks, the colors, the look and feel of the user interface. Well, the UX design is the user experience, designing the experience in terms of when the user logs in, after they log in, how do they navigate to this page, making the experience easier and making the application simpler for the user in terms of after they log in, when they go to this page, will they understand the login journey and also maybe they are making a transaction? Will that transaction be flawless for them? Will they understand the transaction from beginning to end? So designing the experience for the user. Whereas a product designer design the whole thing, how comes up with a vision and idea before we even come to paper, before we even come to experience. You come up with a product in terms of maybe for us, like there's a new feature we came with when we in the cooperative, when I was working with the Cooperative Bank of Kenya, we came in with a feature called M-Pesa Float. So we thought like people were coming with their money physically to the bank to deposit. Other than having that, we don't want people to go physically because of COVID and all this, and also making their work easy. I don't have to come all the way from my place and maybe it's 2 hours drive to go and deposit money. Why don't I just make it simple? I can just deposit, if I have money in my account, I just send the money to my account. Through my account, I can have an M-Pesa float. So if I have that money in my account, there's no need of me withdrawing it and taking it physically. I can just transfer it by the click of a button. So that's product design, designing a product to make the journey for the user simple. And then now the user experience comes up with the flow. The moment they transfer the money from the bank to the M-Pesa float, how does that journey goes? And then the UI now comes in. How does the look and feel look from in terms of the colors? Will the user understand that this color is for M-Pesa and this color is for the Cooperative Bank of Kenya? And then that's how the three different types of design. Yeah.
Awesome. That makes it really clear and easy to understand. So if you like designing customer experiences,
Yes.
choose UX design. And if you like making things look great, look and feel great with
Mhm.
colors, fonts, and typography and all those stuff, then maybe UI design would be more interesting.
Exactly.
Awesome. So as you also mentioned that like these all jobs are quite like new agey, like product design, scrum
Mhm.
master, product owner, product managers, like they've been there for a while, but the last 5 6 years they've just all the terms product designer, UX designer have become really popular recently. What
Yeah.
would you say, like how lucrative is if for someone starting a new career
Mhm.
is the product design industry and the job prospects there? Like are people, and especially because so many companies are having layoffs right now, especially the big ones.
Yeah.
So is it still like if someone is new, is it still like there's opportunities available for people in design space, or they should hold on?
So I will start with the fact that the industry is huge. The industry is so huge. So I'll just advise know your niche. If you're good at design in terms of graphic design, instead of just being a graphic designer, you can venture into UI design because now we are going in technology. Technology is moving fast. We are no longer graphic designers. Graphic designers, anyone can be a graphic designers. Nowadays, Canvas has made it easier. You come to me, I tell you, you want me to design for you maybe an invoice or maybe a business card. I will tell you, I'll charge you 5,000 Kenya shillings. But then when you go to Canvas, it's already there. It's a matter of just putting your name, your website, you have it, go print. So it has been made hard for graphic designer to even to make it in the market. So now, if you're a graphic designer, you can transition to be a UI designer and design applications because there's no app that design application just like that. They have to be all those experience involved, design involved, product design involved. So if you're good at graphics, venture into UI. And if you're good at creating experience, apart from just creating graphics, if you're good at storytelling, you can be a product designer in terms of maybe you want to come up with a product. There's this product that you love. I've seen someone who was working on, and I went through the questions and they were saying they're working on their own type of product. It means that you are creative enough to come up with your own product, design it from scratch, design the experience, design the UI, and have it a fully fledged application or maybe a fully fledged website. So you are more into design in terms of UX and UI design other than just being a normal graphic designer. So venture into things that are in the market because the market is huge. Coming to the question of layoff, as much as they're laying off, there are more companies that are hiring. Zalando is hiring every day. There are companies that are hiring every day. As much as they are laying off, they're still hiring. So don't focus on the layoff, focus on there's a new opportunity. Every day people are leaving Zalando. Every day I get email because they send email to everyone. Oh, this is my last day at Zalando. I've been here 1 year and a half. I've been here 5 years. It's my last day. Goodbyes. There's an opportunity. Maybe that's a product owner. There's an opportunity. They will advertise that. Of course, the layoff it happens because of all this war and everything is happening fast. But then again, it's all about being positive. If I wasn't positive, I would say maybe they'll never choose me. They'll never relocate me all the way to Germany because I'm from Kenya. Then let me not apply for that particular job. But when I was approached, I was like, I'm positive. If they're relocating people, why not? So let me just apply. So you have to just change your mindset and make sure that if you believe in something, you can achieve it. It doesn't have to be like in terms of it doesn't have to be defined by something for you to do it. Just believe in yourself and it will happen. So yeah.
Awesome. That's a great answer. So if you know your niche and you can build the skills, there's always companies hiring,
Exactly.
and just know how to, I guess, learn how to sell your sell like what you can do.
Exactly.
Yeah, amazing. From that, I want to like, I think everyone is here and would love to know more about. So you were in Kenya, now you live in Germany. So how was the process of finding a job in a different country, and how did, like, what was the story behind now working in Zalando? And tell us what Zalando does as well.
So it's a long story, but I'll keep it short. What I can say, since I started working at Cooperative Bank of Kenya, I think I was 1 month or 2 months old at the bank. I started applying for jobs in the US, in London, in Italy. So one of my friends, we were two designers, so he was already there. So I was now the other designer. So we were two designers. So as he was passing through my desk, he saw me applying for jobs and he was like, Liz, you've not even finished 3 months. You've not even finished your probation. You've started applying. So in my mind, I was like, I've now been employed at the Cooperative Bank of Kenya as a UI UX designer. And I can see United States of America, they want UI UX designer. They want a senior UX designer. I'm like, if I've been employed here, they know I'm good at what I do. Why not apply to these other companies and these other countries? And I know their pay is good. Why not? Yes, it's too soon, but why not try my luck? So I can say this journey started way back when I was just beginning my career as a UI UX designer. I was ambitious enough to know that it can happen for me. So apart from that, of course, at that particular time, I even talked to people telling them, I've been applying and I've been getting so many no replies. So what should I do? And then they were like, you are from Kenya, you're applying to go to the US, you're applying to go to these other countries. What makes you so sure that they will relocate you or they will give you a job and not someone from the US? And then it clicked my mind. Maybe that's the reason I've been getting all this unfortunate, not just because I'm not good, but because maybe they don't want somebody from Africa, they don't want somebody from another country. But I stopped a bit, but then again, I was like, they are remote jobs. So let me start applying for remote jobs. There are other companies that are relocating people. Why not apply for relocation? For jobs that are announcing they will relocate their international employees. So I was like, why not? So I kept applying as much as possible. And apart from applying, there are so many interviews I did. What I love about those interviews, I learned a lot during the journey of all those interviews. I learned a lot how other companies work, how they do their job, how a product designer or a UX designer is supposed to do in a day-to-day job in that particular company, and learn the international way of working, how the people in Europe and companies in Europe, be it Microsoft, be it Google, how things are done out there. So those interviews, even if I didn't get all those jobs, I learned a lot, and that helped me in the other interviews that were coming along. Because there's an interview I did, and I was interviewed by I think it was in the US, but it was remote. So I really wanted remote jobs because I wanted to work from home and even stay with my kids. So this guy was like, show me one of the things you've done, some of the designs you've done. So I opened Adobe XD and started showing him some of the design I did. And he was like, after I showed him, he was very nice and he looked all through the design. I showed him the design and why we did the design. After that, he was very sarcastic and he told me, if you are good designers, don't use Adobe XD, they use Figma. If you're a designer and you're using Adobe XD, you're not a good designer. That really got to me. And I told my friends at work, because we have this group that we always motivate each other to always apply and to always make sure that you learn a lot from all these interviews. And I told them, this guy told me I'm not a good designer. He told me I should now venture into Figma and all. And by that time, people fear growth and fear getting out of their comfort zone. I wasn't familiar at all with Figma, and I was in fear learning Figma because it's a new thing, a new application. And in Cooperative Bank, we use Adobe XD. So they were like, yes, I know somebody can't just tell you like that and you lose hope. Yes, that was wrong of him to say that, but with that, take it positively and learn Figma. Just learn it on the side. Yes, we don't use it at Cooperative Bank of Kenya, but learn it on the side, because ideally this is what is used in the market out there. And funny enough, all those interviews I did, all of them were telling me, design in Figma, submit your design in Figma. So even if this guy was like, you have to use Figma, I was like, by the way, all these interviews, no one was asking me Adobe XD. Everyone was Figma. So I had to learn. Of course, some of the design I made mistakes. That's why I didn't get the job, because I was still learning Figma. So it made me learn. So from all these interviews, it made me learn how things work out there, how design is done out there. And funny enough, all these interviews made me who I am today. So apart from all applying and getting all this unfortunate and all that, all this was on LinkedIn. Every application I have done, most of them were through LinkedIn. Actually, 99% on LinkedIn. I revamped my LinkedIn portfolio and my LinkedIn profile to also make it look really well with describing what I'm doing at that particular role, and also putting all the certificate I've done. Apart from the certificate in school, I also did online certificates, also did voluntary jobs with the UN. So they see this lady is very, very interactive. Apart from her normal work, she's doing voluntary work out there. So apart from that, I made sure my portfolio, online portfolio on Behance is up to date. My designs are great. So whenever I apply, I attach my portfolio. And also I made my profile open to recruiters only, open to work to recruiters only, not the green on my profile, because I'm employed. Cooperative bank will be like, you're looking for work and you're employed here. So I made sure it is open to work only to recruiters. So if a recruiter could not contact me in a week, I was like, these people are not doing their job. Because I used to be contacted, I think, if not 2 of them in a week, 1 of them in a week. Hi, Elizabeth, I saw your profile was very impressive. Kindly, if you need new opportunities are available, kindly send your CV, send your whatever. So through that, all these interviews I did through mostly all these recruiters from LinkedIn. Then after applying so many of them, I remember there was the one I did, and I even did an interview with the director of UX, and I knew this is it, this is my job. Only to realize this particular job, he didn't want a UI UX designer. He wanted a visual designer. Apart from being a UI UX designer, they need only a visual designer. And visual designer is more of UI design in terms of the interface and the visual, making it clear, the colors and all. But me, I was giving him all this UI. I did a UI design. I also did the user experience. And he's like, no, I want someone who's fully UI, visual design. So it was like, this was it. I knew the fact that I'm going in an interview with a UX director, I knew I was going to get a job, but it made me realize if I'm applying for a job, I should insist on that particular role that I want and make it perfect. So apart from that, now the recruiter came to my inbox, a recruiter called Kasmia from Zalando. He's from Nigeria. So he came to my inbox. That is 4 years after I've been applying, I've been doing all this. It was not just a day thing or a week thing. So he came to my inbox and told me, and before that, all these things that I was doing, I also got side jobs to even do and also get paid, because now they love my portfolio. Yes, they have their own companies, but they're not employing, but you can work remotely and help them with the side project. So it still helped me get my side hustle and apart from just not getting the job, not getting full-time job, I got this side hustle that helped me build my portfolio and also get my money on the side. So even if you don't get a full-time job, you also get your side hustles, and you also get remote jobs that you can work and also be good at your job. So he came to my inbox and he's like, hi, Elizabeth, I like your profile, it's really impressive. Could you apply for this job? And I was like, do they offer relocation? So I went to the Zalando site. I had never heard of Zalando, never. I was not even following them on LinkedIn. So I went and followed them, and I'm like, oh, it's a fashion company. And I asked him, how is the pay? Is the pay good? He told me, yeah, the pay is good. He told me the rate. And then I was like, do they relocate people? He said, yeah, they relocate people. And true to his words, I went to look at his profile, and he's from Nigeria. He was relocated, I think, 9 months ago. I'm like, okay, if they relocated this recruiter from Nigeria to Germany, then why not me? So I was like, okay, fine, that's okay. So he told me you can apply on the website, or you can even send me your CV and I'll put you to the process. I'm like, the better, because I've been applying all these things and they never even come through. And he told me that this application, when you apply, after 48 hours, you'll get to know if you've gotten the job or not. So it's like the better, because some of these things, they take 3 months, 3 weeks, they don't even get back. Some of them, they go MIA after a week. So like, good thing I will do it. So it's a sprint interview. So it's a sprint interview that Zalando does sprint interviews once in a while when they're looking for roles to fill. So it's you will do these interviews that there are 3 interviews. So these 3 interviews, will do them all in a day. Like I start from 10 to 11:40, then from 11:40 to 12 something, then from 1 to 2 p.m. So the first interview was getting to know me with the recruiter, just a normal with the recruiter. So I was now contacted with a different recruiter from Zalando. So he told me about Zalando and told me, you getting to this particular stage, me talking to you right now, is a huge step. The fact that Zalando has contacted you and you've gotten the first interview with the recruiter it's a huge step. So it's like, I know it's a huge step, but I need the job. You know, I just tell myself like, yeah, it's a huge step, but it will be huge if I get the job. I'm like, okay, yeah, but if I've reached this point, it means I'm good anyway. So let me just continue with the interview. So he told me that, she told me now the interview will be on this date and on this date. So I'm like, okay. Then after 48 hours, you've gotten the job. So that day I did 3 interviews. The first interview was getting to know me. There were 2 ladies, they interviewed me, getting to know me, how my career growth was. They asked me a few questions. Then the next one was with a managerial interview, asking me if I would like to go the managerial way or just the designer way. Because when you do managerial, you'll never be a designer, you just manage people and all. And then the last one was now deep dive. So this one, because it was time, this Corona period, they would have flown me to here in Berlin to do now the deep dive for them to decide if I've gotten the job or not. Just because for this period, Corona period, they couldn't do that. So it was online. So she was asking me questions. I sketch online. I sketch on a piece of paper. I show her, it was a really long discussion, almost 1 hour, 45 minutes. So after that, then the recruiter told me, you've gotten an interview with the hiring manager. I was like, I only knew it was just the 3 interviews. Why am I going again with the hiring manager? But I was like, anyway, let me continue, because at least tell me if I've got the job or not. So she told me, I'll have this interview with the hiring manager. So when should I put it? So she organized the meeting. We had a talk. Then the hiring manager gave me feedback. Apparently by this time I had already gotten the job. So he told me this was the feedback. They said you're a good listener, you're a good communicator. But the only thing they saw was like you when you give your answers, you are repetitive with your answers. You emphasize on an answer too long, which takes more time. But other than that, you're a good listener, you're a good communicator, and they loved your presentations, and they would love to work with you. I'm like, so does this mean, because I hadn't gotten the offer. So I asked him, does this mean I got the offer? Is it a yes from Zalando? He was like, yes, it's a yes from Zalando. We'd love to work with you. I was like, thank you. Because now he's currently my boss. So that's it's like now talking to your boss and seeing how the team works. So I was like, and he asked me to ask him a questions. And one thing about interviews, always ask questions. Even if you don't have a question, always ask. They'll see that you're interested to know how their company works or what they're working on. So I asked him, what's the best thing about working in your team? Then he told me the best thing about working in his team is that the team is diverse. No one is from the same country. If they are from Germany, it's just one German, the UK, US. No one is from the same country, so to say. So it's different nationalities, so it makes it even more diverse. And I was like, that's great. So then the recruiter called me and she sent me the offer. And trust you me, Zalando is the only offer I have gotten ever since I started doing interviews. You can imagine, the only offer. The other offers I've gotten is just a side job. But the main offer for a full-time job is Zalando. And I'm telling you, it's patient and persistent, never giving up in terms of how many interviews you've done. I can even tell you the number of interviews and the number of applications. Number of applications can even reach 1,000. But of course, the number of interviews, I'm telling you, it can be even more than 50 interviews. So it's a process, but it's possible. And it's possible because if it is possible with me, why not you? So yeah, that has been my story of how I reached here. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for sharing your story. I think that was really, really valuable for me as well, learning about your experience, but I'm sure for everyone attending here, lots of gems and lots of key pieces of information that I hope everyone was taking notes or would remember, because from your persistence on applying for jobs and using LinkedIn so well, and I think optimizing your LinkedIn so well that recruiters start reaching out to you.
Yes.
It's amazing. And when you had 50 interview, 1,000 applications is huge, and even 50 interviews, 50 sounds like a small number, but talking to a person for maybe 1 hour each, that's 50 hours, and preparing for each interview, that's
Everything. We
That's
do
a lot
apply
of.
every day. Like we make sure that if not gotten a no reply is a note that we've received an application. Someone from our hiring team will look at your application. So we used to tell each other, if you have not received a no reply today, you're not applying, you're not even looking. So how many no replies have you gotten? Like already I've applied two, so I'm waiting. Tomorrow, the next day, have you applied? Yes. And do you have an interview this week? On this week, I have an interview. So when my boss asks where I am, make sure you plan them well, because I'll be in the other room pretending I'm in a meeting, but I'm in an interview. So having people to support you and maneuver, because at the end of the day, you're still working on your full-time job and you're still looking for other opportunities. So it was really, really, really interesting how you have to be persistent in what you want and have to do all this interview to you only get one offer. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and I had a point. Yeah, I was gonna say that like a lot of time people reach out feeling dejected and sad that they're not hearing back from companies. So here is just like another example that you might need to do it for a really long time for a lot of companies
Exactly.
before, because the opportunity that you'll get after that is something that you'll really enjoy and can be life changing as well.
Really well, yeah.
Awesome. So I have a lot of questions to unpack from that and just like some other questions as well. But I also want to invite people who are on the call. If you guys have any question, feel free to put it in the chat, or if you'd like to ask the question um, to Elizabeth directly, raise your hand on Zoom. You can do that in the settings. Yeah, just next to your name, you can raise your hand, and I can then unmute you so you can ask your question. So I'm going to start from, well, like just one like question where you mentioned from the start is where you were using Adobe, and then the designer, the recruiter or someone might asked you to, it's like everyone uses Figma now, and then each company was actually asking you to submit in Figma. What are some tools other than Figma or Figma that new designers that should master, like should start learning? Because there's so many tools. Like even like sometimes I'm not into design, but like we have the program. So there's Figma, there's Whimsical, there's the Adobe suite in general, and then some new tools coming as well. So what are your recommendations for tools that upcoming product designers should start learning?
So what I can say is, if you're a designer, regardless of you are UX designer, UI designer, or even a product designer, just master the main ones, which is, if you are creative, you have to be creative. Figma is all about just making the design, the UI design in terms of the mobile and web, and make it so that other product owners or even engineers can look at your work as you design. So, but being creative, you can be creative, and being creative, you can use Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator. Yes, those two. So just master the Adobe and also Adobe XD, of course. But know the tools that you can be good in and master them well. For me, I realized I was good at all those graphic, whatever, software applications to design. But I was ignorant with Figma, because I was like, if I can do Adobe XD, if I can use Adobe XD, why not? There's Adobe XD, there's Sketch. I've never opened Sketch. I opened Sketch and was like, wow, this is too much work for me, because Sketch is broad. I didn't even want to start looking. Same with Figma. But the moment I started, because I had no choice, I had to learn it, because that is what is used mostly in the market. Even we use it here at Zalando. We don't use, of course, Photoshop and illustration, but when you want to be creative with other jobs, you have to know, of course, all those applications. So I can say be great at what that specific company needs, because that's the tool you'll be using mostly. But to be a general and a great designer, in terms of maybe you go to a company and they no longer use Figma, they want to use Sketch, you have to be good at Sketch. So just know what the company needs and perfect that and be great at it. And that will help you maneuver in that particular company. Of course, have the basic knowledge for all these other tools, but perfect that, the one you'll be using on your daily, day-to-day job. So there are many applications. I can't say this one is good, this one is not good, but there are so many. Yeah.
Perfect. For those who want to learn Figma, we have a new course coming up on Figma, which is launching next year. So keep an eye out for that in your emails. A couple of questions from people. Some quick ones. Do you need is it compulsory to have a university degree to get a job as a UI UX designer?
You have to, not a university one, but you can have online certifications. You can go online and do the online certification and get your certificate. Those certificates will help the recruiters know you're certified in this particular field. These days, they don't really look at your degree, but at least knowledge and persistence and knowing that you have all these certifications online that you've done. Yes, a degree is good because most of the jobs they say a university degree or work experience is relevant. And you see someone doesn't have this degree, but they have the experience and they have all this online certification. It helps. So don't give up knowing that you don't have the university certificate. You have the passion, you have the learning tool, you can learn online. It's not a must for you to pay them. Most of the things that I've done online on my LinkedIn, I've not paid for. I did Allison the other time. I've been certified online. They want me to buy the certificate. I'm like, I'm not buying the certificate. I don't need, as long as that link is there, and when a recruiter clicks that link, it goes to Allison and says I've been certified, I've done this course, it's good for me. So even, is it LinkedIn? LinkedIn has a lot of courses that would help as well. So it's not a must to have the degree, but have the experience and the online certifications.
Absolutely. Looking at more questions, Kritika, I think your question is about product management, so we'll save that for some other event. And Kritika, all right. I think this was a very common question as well around getting started in UI UX design without having a background in it. And I think like what generally our advice is to do some online course, as you mentioned, and build up your skills.
Exactly.
And then we recommend creating your portfolio or your body of work and showcase what you have done. So I think I'll frame that as a different question for you is, what are some tips for people who are creating their portfolio to apply for jobs, and especially when they don't have a job and they're working on like fictional products or just choosing a company and working on, what are the companies looking for in the portfolio when they're hiring UX UI designers?
So they're looking at the kind of design you've done, especially when you're applying for companies. Maybe you're applying, let's give an example of, I don't know, maybe let's give Cooperative Bank of Kenya. So you're applying at Cooperative Bank of Kenya because, of course, since I don't think they've replaced me ever since. They're still looking for someone. So maybe you're applying for that particular role. Have previous designs that you've done, be it the previous job or just your project. Maybe redesign the application, the omni-channel that the Cooperative Bank has. Give them a different perspective on your view as a designer and show that this is what maybe that application is lacking for it to get more customers. Pinch where it hurts, and they will be like, by the way, this is a good idea. If that person can come up with this idea, what if we employ them in this company? How many ideas will she come up with as a product designer, as a UX designer, as a UI designer in this company for a company to grow? So you're interested to join Zalando. Design something that Zalando can be proud of and see like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. If we bring this to our application, it will bring us more customers. Why not give them a different look or a different feel, so that when you show your portfolio, the first thing they see, oh, they designed something that is concerning us. Okay, I'm interested. Let me look at this portfolio now. But if it designs things that they are not relevant to them, they will not really, but maybe if your work is interesting, they will. But to get them, to get their attention, some of these things, design things that maybe you want to apply to this specific company and design things that concern them, redesign some of the things, maybe it's a different project, give them a comparison of that particular project. It doesn't have to be the same particular project that they have done, but give them a comparison of a different idea. And maybe that will help when you even answering questions in the interviews, and they'll be like, because most of the interviews, they're like, show us your work and the idea behind it. So when you're showcasing it and you say, this is the idea I saw in your application, this is what you do, but this is an, they'll be like, they'll not ever forget in that interview. So there's this interview, we are interviewing Elizabeth, and she told us this and this and this. Did you interview her? Yes. Did she proceed? Okay. I think that lady has something. Make sure she, so make sure they never forget you in that interview. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that advice. Someone asked if you can be a mentor for them. So are you, I guess your profile is there on ADP list, right? Where students can.
Yes, I did, but I've still blocked because I'm still trying to kind of settle here. Settling in Germany is a different story. So I'll embark next year when I'm settled, when I'm already finished my probation. I'm here to finish my probation. I think it's ending in, I think I'll be 6 months, I think in March. So maybe when March reaches, I'll now put the dates, but
So
now I'm not, yeah.
So you just went to Germany like a couple of months ago?
Yes, in September.
Ah,
Barely 3
that's,
months in, yeah.
yeah, that's not enough time to settle down,
Exactly.
especially in a new country.
Exactly.
I've been in Kenya for 2 months and it still feels like I'm getting to know things.
Exactly. You see, it's not me. I have kids, it's not easy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yes, if anyone is looking for advice, look out for next year when Elizabeth will have offer slots on ADP list, and you can, of course, check out more. There's a lot of designers who give mentoring and advice on ADP list, so you can check that out. And because that's how I found out about Elizabeth, I was looking for designers and then stumbled on her LinkedIn and read the post that she's migrated to Germany. So I was like, it would be nice for the students to learn from your experience. This is actually a interesting question because I'm curious too, because I've heard that Germany has a lot of language because many of people who want to go there, like some companies require you to know German. Yeah, I think that's with universities as well. So is language a barrier that you're dealing with, or is that not a problem since your team is diverse?
The good thing is our team is diverse. For company, we don't speak German. I think that's the best thing about it. I don't know any German. Actually, yesterday we even had a German class. I enrolled for German classes and I even forgot to join yesterday because it was at 6. But that is just aside. The reason why we want to learn German is because our day-to-day life here. You go out there, you ask someone something, maybe direction, because Germany is huge, Berlin is huge. So you get somewhere, you want to take a bus, you want to take a train, you can ask them, the first thing you ask them, you have to ask them if they speak in English. But if you're speaking in German, you just ask them, ich bin Elizabeth, my name is Elizabeth, whatever, do you know where the bus is? It will be easier for you. But in my day-to-day job, we do our work in English. Our office, everyone speaks in English. No one speaks in German. Of course, there are Germans, but most of course, I think 30% or is it 40 something percent is German, but the other 60-70% are from different state, most of them are from Turkey. Very few are from Nigeria and Kenya, but mostly are from Turkey, Brazil. So we see all these people are different languages. So Zalando doesn't say you have to speak German for you to work with them. So that's the good thing. So when you're looking at these jobs, look at the job description. Do they need German? When they say German is a plus, it doesn't mean you have to. When they say this course is a plus, it's just a plus. If you have it, the better for you. If you don't, it doesn't hinder you from getting the job. So that's the good thing about the company. But our day-to-day life, it's hard. It's hard settling in Germany if you don't know German. Yeah. So even asking for something, it's crazy. So at least you have to know some German. Someone like me, I hate languages. I hate learning a new language. For me, it has to, you see, like Figma, it has to make sense to me for me to learn German. So it's not easy to maneuver things here, even asking someone simple thing, someone is smiling at you and smiling at your kids and they speak in German, you're like, wow, what can I say? I know they want to say something nice about the kids, but then again, we can't communicate. So it's tricky, but it doesn't affect my work, but it affects my day-to-day work. So yeah.
Nice, thank you for sharing that. So yeah, look out if you're looking to move countries, make sure the barriers with living in a different country. I think just looking at other questions. All right, there's another question on not having a background in design. So I think we already answered this, talking about doing certifications and online courses and creating a portfolio. Our next question, I think something that I wanted to know as well, and someone has asked that twice as well, like building a resume and CV. So we had a session with a recruiter from Australia actually to talk about advice on building resumes and CVs. That was about 2 months ago. And one question that someone asked there was like nowadays there's so many resume design tools. It's like you can design a resume on Canva or like this, like even LinkedIn, there's tools where LinkedIn can generate a resume for you. And there's so many others which make it look like popping and beautiful, like UI design, like show you like an expert. But the person there, the recruiter said that usually it's fine to just have a simple resume, even you can create it in Microsoft Word, but what is inside the resume is what matters. But if you're applying for like a job that is specific to showcasing a particular skill set in your design or something, if you have a cool resume, it won't hurt.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on like having a particular format? Is there anything or for like applying for UX UI design jobs? And I think I'll add on another question to that, like what is the format and what is your recommendation? And the second is for people who are, again, without any previous job experience, but only courses and certifications, how can they leverage their like resume? Like how what should they put in the resume when they don't have any job experience?
What I can say, I've always used LinkedIn to do everything. So I'm here because of LinkedIn. My CV, I downloaded, on your profile, when you click build a CV or maybe download PDF, actually download PDF is easier. That's what I do. As long as I have my photo, my profile picture, I have detailed everything on my portfolio in terms of the title. I'm a product designer, Zalando. What I do at Zalando, I'm a head of graphics, what I do as a head of graphics, as an intern, what I do. The only thing LinkedIn won't showcase it because it's not there is your referees. So what I do, that with all that listed, I download PDF. And when I download PDF, I'm a designer. I have Illustrator. I open PDF on Illustrator. And now I add my referees. And when I add my referees, my profile is complete. And it arranges everything in terms of also the courses you've done and also the certifications. It's all listed and what you're proficient in. So as LinkedIn has built for you, you can also edit it to the way you want it to. You can edit the colors and all. There was a job I applied and they were like, we don't want a LinkedIn build resume. I was like, how now? Whatever I'll put in a different design is what will be in that same CV. And another thing, when I applied at Cooperative Bank of Kenya, when I was now doing my onboarding and all that, the recruiter was like, oh, nice. No wonder you're a designer. I like your portfolio. I like your CV because I even printed it in a big paper because it was really nicely done because it can't fit in an A4 because the format is huge. So I had to print it in an A3 for it to look really huge. And she was like, no wonder you're a designer because they used to the normal Word document 5 pages. But now mine was a huge one and it's one big page. So I think your CV should look good being a creative person. Being a creative person in terms of, you see when you tick, I'm good at Photoshop, there's a way it lays out and I don't have to go to the 5th page to see that your skills are Photoshop, Illustrator, design thinking, all that. It's all in the first page where your name is and where your career is. See, so how you lay out your CV will give the recruiter an easy time because they receive thousands of CV. But the moment they see yours is easier to look other than going to the 5th page, I will consider this first. So the other question was what exactly? Or the certification, if I don't have the experience. What I can advise is work on freelance project. When you get a client and they want you to design whatever, let's say a website. They want a website and they want a website within a week or within 2 weeks. That's an experience. You don't have to be fully employed for you to have an experience. You don't have to be part-time employed for you to be an experience. That particular job is an experience. So you see, that person, maybe that person who gave you a job, maybe he's a CEO or a founder of this company. So you say you work for this company for a month. That project, maybe you work for it for 2 months. For 2 months, I did this design for this company, and this is the design. For 1 month or for 10 days, I did this design. That still counts because it shows that you can do the work. Experience is not about the years. It's about, especially when you're starting, because when you're starting, you feel like, oh, I'm not good enough, I can't get the job. The experience, those tiny projects are still experience, because before you do all this work, you've done your research, you're learning. You've looked up all these things online and learned a lot. So experience is all about learning, and experience is not about you being employed. You can be employed and for a whole month, you don't do anything. You don't have any project to do. When I joined Cooperative Bank, for a month, I didn't do anything because they had not stayed out the layout of all this design. We were just doing user stories. We're just designing user stories, and we hadn't started the real work. So I had nothing to showcase for a month. But there's this person who is not fully employed, has something to showcase for a month. So who is better? So your portfolio is good. You can present that to someone and show them, this is the design I've done. So every design, small design you do, it's an experience. Don't count it, oh, I've never worked for a company full time, so I don't have experience. You have experience. Your own project, those projects that ideas you come up with. Maybe there's a design you've always wanted to design, and maybe you've come up with a design in terms of you just creating your own things and you build your portfolio. That's an experience. You had experience, worked on this project for this particular time. You call it maybe the renovation project. You call it renovation project. The renovation project, I worked on this project in this particular time, and this is what I did. That's an experience. It will help you when your CV is being perused. They will see this is someone who's doing something great for them with their life. They're not just sitting, regardless if they're not fully employed or not. So I'm hoping that helps.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Elizabeth. That was great advice for building a resume. And I think like the top takeaways for me from this session were work on your LinkedIn, improve that, work on side projects, if you don't have a job, build your profile by working on the company, like working on projects. You can just choose a company that you want to work for, find something that you can improve and create a report or a case study on that, and then share it with the world, apply for jobs, talk to people. If you apply for 100 jobs, maybe you hear back from 10, maybe you get 2 interviews. So the odds are better in your favor when you put in more effort and more consistency. And once again, I'll start wrapping up now. But Elizabeth, if people want to read, I've shared the LinkedIn profile because a couple of them were asking in the chat. So a few students might reach out to you. And yeah, I recommend others to, we've had a LinkedIn workshop. We did it a couple of months ago. So if someone is willing to build their profile, have a look at their workshop. That's like, there's a recording available, but also I think there's one skill that is often not told, not a skill, but just like a trick, that when improving a LinkedIn profile, what I suggest is imagine yourself 5 years into the future, who you want to work with or work under, and look at their profile, like review profiles of other people 5-7 years senior to you, and like see what stands out in their profile, and just not copy it, but like use it in your own language, use it in your own flavor, and apply it to your profile. And there's a lot you can do by just looking at a lot of LinkedIn profiles.
Exactly.
All right, I just have a couple of, so before, as we wrap up, I just want to tell everyone that we do have a UX design course. I'll share the link in the chat. And yes, we do get a replay. And every Gabor, I can share my LinkedIn profile in a bit. So yes, we do. We have a UX design course where it's runs over 6 weeks, where it's more focused on the design thinking approach, on like how to use design thinking to identify user problems, solve them, and a little bit of sketching and wireframing. On I think in this one we teach Whimsical, but you're free to use any tool you like. And then you end with how to create prototypes, user flows, and conduct usability testings. And for those who are more excited or interested in UI design or visual design, the instructor who is his name is Anthony. He's a senior product designer at Amazon. So he's building our visual design course, which should be ready by January. So keep an eye out for that, where we discuss everything about colors, typography, accessibility, and some other things that I don't know about because I'm not an expert. And lastly, we had 2 more events over the next 2 weeks. If you're interested in data analyst and product management, join our event next week on next Wednesday. And then on the Sunday after that, we have Eric joining us, who was an entry level student and who will share his experience of getting a job after completing his program. So I posted the link in the chat if you're interested to sign up. And for everyone who joined today, thank you once again. It was great to hear Elizabeth's story with all of you. And thanks once again, Elizabeth.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome.